Hello and welcome to In Depth. I'm your host Aditi Nagpal Girotra. India stands on the cusp of making history between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. tonight. Moon Mission Chandrayaan-2's landing module Vikram will start its final descent to touchdown on the lunar surface. ISRO scientists are calling this the most terrifying moments of the nearly 3-month-long mission. A successful landing will make India the fourth country after Russia, the US and China to achieve a soft landing on the moon. India will also be the first to launch a mission to the unexplored Lunar South Pole. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will watch this part of the mission with 60 to 70 high school students from the ISRO Center in Bengaluru. The spectacular journey of ISRO's Chandrayaan-2 mission started on 22nd July, with the launch of the 3-part spacecraft carrying a lunar orbiter, lander and rover on a moon-bound trajectory. In Depth today, we retrace the voyage of Chandrayaan-2, recapping the many stupendous maneuvers it had to make, the challenges it has overcome to reach this far, to finally see the moon within its grasp. Chandrayaan-2 was successfully launched at 2:43 p.m. on 22nd July. Between 24 July and 6 August, the spacecraft used Earth's gravity or orbit-raising maneuvers to increase its own velocity to conserve fuel. The final orbit raising took Chandrayaan-2 1,43,585 kilometers from the Earth. This is when the critical maneuver of the trans-lunar injection was performed, where the spacecraft's trajectory was adjusted to reach the moon. On 14th August, Chandrayaan-2 was placed in the moon-bound path, called the trans-lunar injection or TLI. It was a maneuver that set Chandrayaan-2 on a week-long path to reach the moon. This maneuver placed the spacecraft on 266 by 4, 266 into 4,13,623 orbit. Adjustments were made to make the planned landing date of 7th September despite the 1-week delay in the mission's launch. Between the 14th and 20th August, Chandrayaan-2 was put on a lunar transfer trajectory. The spacecraft left Earth's orbit and began its 3,84,000 kilometer journey to the moon. The last of Chandrayaan-2's earthbound orbits brought it halfway to the moon. From here, it used its thrusters to come under the moon's orbit of influence. When the moon approached the Chandrayaan-2's farthest point from the Earth, its onboard thrusters fired up and slowed itself down for a controlled transfer from the Earth's orbit of influence and into the moon's orbit. The lunar-bound phase took 13 days. The lunar orbital insertion ended with the Chandrayaan-2 orbiter lander composite entering a circular 100-kilometer altitude orbit around the moon. ISRO's moon lander Vikram is on its way to a region on the lunar surface that is little explored till date. Most lunar landings have taken place in the northern hemisphere or in the equatorial region. Also, that ISRO's budget has been less than 1/20th of NASA. The ₹100 crore Chandrayaan-2 mission cost less than what it took Hollywood to make the Marvel movie Avengers Endgame.
At around 1:55 a.m. tonight, ISRO's Chandrayaan-2 mission will create history when it lands on the lunar surface. What makes this landing different from the others that have happened so far is that this will be the first time any nation has reached this close to the moon's south pole. Vikram, Chandrayaan-2's lander that separated from the orbiter on Monday, has already performed 2 maneuvers to lower its altitude for a perfect touchdown between 1:30 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. on Saturday. Touchdown will be preceded by some very precise maneuvers that Vikram will conduct. At roughly 1:38 am, rough braking will begin when Vikram is about 30 kilometers away from the lunar surface. 10 minutes later, the lander will begin fine braking at a distance of less than 8 kilometers from the surface of the moon. 2 minutes later, at 1:50 am, Vikram lander will begin local navigation in its bid to find the perfect spot for landing near the moon's south pole. It will also send its first image of the moon's surface to Earth another couple of minutes later at 1:52 am. And a minute after that, at 1:53 am, Vikram will make a soft landing on the moon, creating history and crossing a very important milestone in India's space sojourn.
See, August 20th, the craft was inserted into the lunar orbit. I mean, if you look at after that, on September 2, the orbiter and the Vikram lander separated out. Okay, that separation took place. What happened after September 2? After September 2, the orbit of the lander was reduced because the lander has to land on the moon, right? So earlier it was about 18,000 into 100 kilometer. It was reduced to about 100 into 100 kilometer. Now, the last maneuver, it was reduced to about 30 into 101 kilometer. Okay, so now on the D-Day, that is on 7 September, the lander will land on the moon. To land on the moon, there are 4 important issues that you have to take care of. Number 1, speed. Right now, the the lander Vikram is going around something like about 1,660 km per hour. So it has been reduced to 0 if you want to land on the moon. Second, the height has to be reduced. Right now, the lander is going around orbit, which is 100 kilometers when it is far away, 30 kilometers when it is near. So roughly you can say that from 30 kilometers you have to bring it the height to 0. The third is you have to land on the right spot. Even a minor variation in angle when you travel many kilometers will be a difference of many kilometers in your landing place, right? So basically the lander has to navigate on moon. So something like a Google map, the lander has a technology which will be able to compare the live picture it is taking at that time with a map that has been preloaded by ISRO. So it will know where it is, in which direction it is moving, how fast it is moving, and how should it move so that it will reach the landing place. And third is, when it is about 400 meters above, it will start slowly descending down to the point which is designated, ensuring that there is no boulder, there is no pit, there is no rock which will disturb the landing of the lander in a plain area. Okay, the area should not have hazards. This is a major challenge. This whole process is going to take about 15 minutes. The last part, that is coming from when the speed is going to be almost 0 to touching down the ground, is going to take just 5 minutes. So this 5 minutes is going to be a really very crucial thing.
It will be Vikram's decision on where exactly it wants to make the final landing by studying the lunar surface when it would be 100 meters above it. If everything goes well, it will touch down 78 seconds later. ISRO had chosen 2 landing sites, a primary landing site and a secondary one, each with 2 landing zones. The preferred landing site is between 2 craters, Manzinus and Simpelius, about 350 kilometers north of the South Pole. At a height of 100 meters from the lunar surface, Vikram will hover for a few seconds before the final descent. There are several considerations that have been taken in deciding the landing sites. The most important among them is that both sides should have the sun's elevation at more than 6 degrees on landing day to ensure enough illumination for the lunar craft to capture images. If it can land on the first zone, within 65 seconds, Vikram will reach a height of 10 meters directly. However, if it chooses the second landing site, Vikram will use 40 seconds to first descend to a height of 60 meters, then drop to 10 meters in the next 25 seconds. Once Vikram reaches an altitude of 10 meters from the surface, it takes about 13 seconds for touchdown. Vikram's final descent from the lunar orbit would have started at an altitude of 35 kilometers. Pragyan rover will move out to roam the lunar surface. This will be between 5:30 am and 6:30 am. Pragyan will carry out research, including a thorough mapping of the moon's resources, looking for the presence of water and clicking high-resolution images.
Actually, Chandrayaan-2 is, though we call it as a Chandrayaan-2 spacecraft, actually it is 3 spacecraft put into one. Okay, so one is the orbiter, which will keep going around the moon. Initially, ISRO planned that it will keep going around moon for 1 year, but now we think that most likely it will keep around the moon for 2 years because there are adequate fuel. And the second is what is called as the Vikram lander and Pragyan rover combo. When it lands on moon, the belly will open and the rover will come and crawl on the surface of moon. So this is in some sense, if you look at the Chandrayaan-2 space payload, which is basically 3 components. A orbiter which will go around the moon, a lander which will land on the moon, a lander which will carry a robo and make the robo car like a rover crawl on the surface of moon. These are the 3 components of Chandrayaan.
The rover is inside the lander, so both are now orbiting around the moon. The orbiter will continue in its determined orbit. The lander is coming closer and closer to the moon as it is moving across the moon. So the thrusters have to do the reverse of what was done initially, because once it is caught by the gravity of the moon falling down, we don't want it to go and impact. So the thrusters are going to decelerate so that there is a soft landing on the moon and the lander settles down. And before this, in the orbit, there was a check also to see that what is the location it should land in, exact location, just to avoid any mishaps. And then following that, I think the opening of the door and the ramp and the rover to come out, take its little steps around in that region. The lander also with all of its payloads to scan material around it, and the rover with the 2 payloads on it to do very detailed study of rocks, minerals in that region.
Vikram and Pragyan's lifespan is 14 days. After that, there will be another 14 days of darkness on the area of the moon where they are, and the temperature could dip to minus 170 degrees Celsius. Chandrayaan-2 orbiter's lifespan is estimated at 1 year, but it may keep working longer. As the world waits with bated breath to witness the historic spectacle, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will see the historic landing live from ISRO's control room along with some school children. Chandrayaan-2's success will make India only the 4th country after the US, Russia and China to pull off a soft landing on the moon. With inputs from Aruna Thakur, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
But why exactly is Chandrayaan-2 heading towards the Moon's South Pole? What does soft landing a spacecraft means? And how is Chandrayaan-2 different from Chandrayaan-1? Let's take a look in this report.
The countdown is underway for moon lander Vikram's final descent. After its historic landing on the Lunar South Pole, ISRO's second mission to the moon will make India the only country to manage a soft landing on the lunar soil. Till date, 38 attempts at soft landing have been made on the moon's surface. 20 alone have succeeded. A soft landing does not result in any damage to spacecraft, which means the spacecraft remains operational and fit to carry out experiments. For a soft landing, Vikram's onboard navigation, guidance and control system and its propulsion system will have to work in perfect unison. In the year 2008, Chandrayaan-1's moon impact probe hard landed on the moon and was destroyed on impact. The impact released subsurface debris that was later analyzed for water ice by instruments on Chandrayaan-1. The presence of water on the moon was later confirmed by international missions including NASA. India's historic moon mission started 11 years ago when in September 2008, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh gave approval for Chandrayaan-2 mission. The mission finally took off on 22nd July 2019 on a 3,84,400 kilometer journey towards the moon. Once it lands, Vikram and the rover Pragyan it is carrying will conduct scientific experiments on the moon for 1 lunar day, which is equal to 14 Earth days. Chandrayaan-2 will be operational for 1 year to conduct various orbital experiments. The 978 crore rupees unmanned moon mission is expected to shed light on a completely unexplored section of the moon's south polar region. The south polar region is among the coldest spots on the solar system. It has not received sunlight for billions of years. Scientists believe water exists in the permanently shadowed areas around it. In addition, South Pole region had craters that are cold traps and contain a fossil record of the early solar system that could help us understand the origins of life. The mission is also expected to demonstrate key technologies for end-to-end lunar mission capability, including soft landing and roving on the lunar surface. It also aims to further expand the knowledge about the moon through a detailed study of its topography, mineralogy, surface chemical composition, thermophysical characteristics, and atmosphere for a better understanding of the moon's origin and evolution.
Many aspects of these are going to be crucial for much later missions. In the sense of looking at what is present on the moon is in our backyard. But still there are so many aspects of moon studies where it is possible to make crucial contributions, and that is what this mission is setting out to do. To know the mineral distribution, and particularly those minerals which may be of use for future missions which may take off from the moon. So we would be in that kind of, not race, but in that process of being able to do that much later in future through this mission.
Let's understand how the spacecraft will land. The Vikram lander will descend onto the lunar surface. The lander will perform a series of maneuvers to bring itself to a 90-degree angle with respect to the lunar surface and identify a suitable landing site. Upon landing, the lander Vikram will release the rover Pragyan to explore the lunar surface for one lunar day. The orbiter will continue to circle around the moon for about a year. The key difference between India's first and second moon mission is that Chandrayaan-2 is the first mission in which ISRO is attempting to land an Earth-made object on a celestial body, while Chandrayaan-1 was an orbiter, meaning satellites that were sent to orbit the moon and collect data. Chandrayaan-2 is a combo. It has an orbiter as well as a lander and a rover. Chandrayaan-1 spacecraft made more than 3,400 orbits around the moon and remained operational for 312 days. Chandrayaan-2's orbiter will continue its mission for around a year. In its path-breaking discovery, Chandrayaan-1 not only discovered traces of water on the moon, it also detected magnesium, aluminium, and silicon. Global imaging was another achievement of Chandrayaan-1 mission. Chandrayaan-2 aims to widen these scientific objectives by way of soft landing on the moon and deploying a rover to study the lunar surface. It will be the precursor to the grand Gaganyaan mission that will send 3 Indians to space on an Indian spacecraft. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Chandrayaan-2, India's second lunar mission, aims to go where no country has ever gone before. The moon's south polar region, where among other things, it will look for lunar water. Launched on 22nd July, India's moon mission is all set to land near the moon's south pole on 7th September. Our next report takes a detailed look at Chandrayaan-2 that weighs over 3,000 kilograms and carries a suite of 14 experiments that are distributed among the orbiter, the lander and the rover.
3, 2, 1, 0.
The fully indigenous mission Chandrayaan-2 has 3 modules, an orbiter, a lander named Vikram, and a rover named Pragyan. The orbiter will orbit the moon at an altitude of 100 kilometers. There are 8 instruments on the orbiter, including a laser retroreflector from NASA, which is the only foreign payload in the mission. The orbiter is a box-shaped craft with an orbital mass of 2,379 kilograms and solar panels capable of generating 100 watts of electricity. The orbiter high-resolution camera will conduct high-resolution observations of the landing site prior to the separation of the lander from the orbiter. The orbiter's structure was manufactured by the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. The 5-legged Vikram lander is a module that will enable the delivery of the Pragyan rover to the lunar surface while conducting a few experiments of its own. The rover will roll out once the lander has successfully landed at the desired spot. The lander consists of several instruments or payloads that will be constantly carrying out experiments throughout its mission time. Vikram has been developed to operate for 1 lunar day, which is equivalent to 14 Earth days. During this time period, Vikram will constantly be communicating with the Indian Deep Space Network in Bengaluru near Bengaluru. The same network will be used by the orbiter and the rover for communication. Vikram weighs 1,471 kilograms, including the 27 kilogram Pragyan rover inside it. It is capable of generating about 650 watts of electricity. The lander is named Vikram to honor the late Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, a former chairman of ISRO who is widely regarded as the father of the Indian space program. The rover of Chandrayaan-2 is a 6-wheeled robotic vehicle named Pragyan, which is a Sanskrit word meaning wisdom. Pragyan is able to travel up to 500 meters or half a kilometer at a speed of 1 centimeter per second and is powered by solar energy. The Pragyan rover is powered through artificial intelligence and is capable of communicating only with the lander. Pragyan can conduct the in-situ payload experiments. The total weight of Pragyan rover is 27 kilograms and it has an electric power generation capacity of 50 watts. Chandrayaan-2's lander and rover are targeted to land at a location about 600 kilometers from the Lunar South Pole, which would be the first time any mission has touched down so far from the moon's equator. ISRO plans to use the experience for more challenging missions in the future, such as touching down on an asteroid or Mars or sending a spacecraft to Venus. Chandrayaan-2 was successfully launched on July 22nd by GSLV Mark III M1 launch vehicle from Sriharikota just days after the 50th anniversary of the first human moon landing, Apollo 11. If its landing on the moon is successful, it will make India the 4th country in the world to successfully conduct a soft landing on the satellite's surface. The previous moon mission, Chandrayaan-1, made a hard landing on the moon's surface. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And that's it from us today in In-Depth. We'll be back same time on Monday with a focus on some other subject. In case you missed the television broadcast, you can also watch our program online on YouTube, the link for which is given below. Suggestions and feedback about the program are also welcome. Thank you for your time.